Afternoon, David.
Afternoon, David. How you doing?
Busy. Busy. Um, Flat out. But there is a bit of news in there. That's all three areas been contacted. I'm waiting to hear them give me the details.
Yeah.
And then on Monday I'll get down the bank and get the money out.
Something I forgot to ask you is Drumchapel included in that?
Of course, from Chapel's included. I've already got their details, David. That's why I said I'm only waiting at two.
Yeah, I know. I must phone the lady at Drumchapel. She was awful nice. She really was.
I think there's been a change of management because when I spoke to the person, they didn't recognise their names.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
And we've given them money a few times now.
Yeah, it's maybe you may be talking to somebody who's just covering for it. That was all.
Well, she's moved on.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That happens as well.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you all doing? You all right? Is that grass starting to take shape? Is it? Are you cut it and polished it and whatever to make it look nice? I haven't got any grass at all. It's great.
I will be. I was out yesterday whacking mine with Strimmer. It got that long. You saying to get Facebook on board, David? Well, the number's fine. Why don't you say hello to a few people?
Yeah, one thing we did notice today was before the feed went live was that right up until about 4 minutes before we went live, the feed was empty, all apart from Stephen Banker.
The moderator. People are busy. They're starting to fly in through the door of the news, though. Hi, Jay. Hi, City Flyer. Hi, June. Hi, Robert. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Akis. Hi, Ange. Hi, John.
Ange, get out of my pub.
Right, Ange. What that Ange says is get out of my transport office. Anyway, give you a minute for a few more people to get on board. And for Facebook to get on board, because I've just brought them on board. And we'll get this nonsense underway.
Yes, by the way, guys, the girls have been here doing the makeup last year. You wouldn't want to see them without makeup. And it's like, we had to go at this bit and it's all going wrong. So don't worry about it. We'll get a hairdresser at some point, sort it out. But it's all looking right.
What fun to do.
I did last night. I had a pretty cheeky bastard.
You lie on the couch again, you know, grouch. The numbers are climbing nicely now. And of course, we've got a few in for Facebook now. We'll get Tina in, we'll get Doug in, we'll get our Sweden correspondent Melanie in. Things are rising nicely now.
Yeah.
Hi, Nathan. Hey. Hi, Kazzy. Karen's the person that put me onto the charity in Easter House.
Yes, and she was an old friend of yours. I understand
Yes, we go back a long way. I'll be seeing her and Lynn on Saturday.
Right.
The Indie Grannies.
Fair enough.
Hi, Francis. Hey. Nearly there, David. Numbers are climbing steady.
What are we up to?
I can't see if that's 85 or 65. I think a better pair of glasses.
Right.
But obviously I've got base sets coming in. But the chat's moving along nicely.
We correspondent on international mission. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Come on.
Let's get started. We're going to start the day with First Minister's questions.
Oh, there's Alistair in there with the first one, £5. Thank you very much, Alistair. Larry Cat can do online training for Charlie Cat. In the morning show.
Yeah, you had to see the morning show to get it. They pour a bottle of whiskey out of my grass and it'll come up half cut apparently. Well done, Duncan.
The
That gave
best
me a laugh.
thing is, if he poured a bottle of whiskey down his throat, the grass would look fantastic.
Oh, you can pour it in the glass. The grass will come up half cup. Right, we'll start with
You missed the
we'll
point.
start with the FMQs. Which was today. First up were the Tories. And funny as it, I don't know what's wrong with that guy, Ross Finlay. He seems to think everybody's a fucking idiot. Started as we mean to go on, swear word in right away.
He's the same cut as 30p Lee, isn't he? He's
quite that bad. But he went on the SNC turning their back on oil and gas.
Yeah.
Now, last time I looked, oil was reserved, gas was reserved, and it was Westminster that closed the Grangemouth refinery.
Yes, that's right.
So, where does idiot Ross Finlay get that?
I'll go following that. Grangemouth, which was a private company, they gave the owner of Ineos, Ratcliffe, the money to go and set up a refinery.
We'll get to that a bit later, David.
Which I've already got 4 refineries.
David, we'll get to that later. It's one of the subjects.
Yes, I know that.
We're talking about the bare-faced cheek of the guy whose imperial master is in charge of oil and gas, blaming the SNP for abandoning oil and gas.
Yeah.
Can you make it up?
Is this the politics of grievance again?
Well, it would appear that the Tories are the one that's bringing up a grievance this time. Yeah, what do you think Labour went on?
Oh, yeah. Ambulance coming! Get away!
That's right, there were ambulance chasing. Because your wife works in the sector, before we come on, we were talking about this, and I say GPs, but I should have said healthcare professionals, because I don't know enough about it.
I carry my very own experts here, by the way.
Well, anyway, when I was looking into it, a healthcare official would refer them to a paediatric specialist, and they can be referred in Scotland for about 1 year up when it becomes obvious. But what I was seeing was that generally the symptoms don't show really that badly until after about 5. I could be wrong in that. I don't know how many kids are being referred before it.
It could be that they weren't discovered for years and years and years.
Oh, aye. We hear about it.
Everyone is an individual, as my wife would very, very quickly say to you. And she has.
Right. See, we know that adults are still being diagnosed at this point in time.
What are you checking out?
Well, Madam Director's asked me if she wants me to cook something for my dinner. I said, no, I'll still do it when I come in for work. I didn't have my breakfast till late because I was doing the show and then I was dealing with charities, you know.
Oh, right.
And I was talking to Kaz this morning and all, Karen, so that's always nice to get a wee chat.
Uh-huh.
Right, the Greens attacked the SNP on no scrapping the targets, but lowering the expectations of getting vehicles out of or people out of their cars.
Uh-huh.
You know, what's interesting about what Labour and what the Greens were doing was, as usual, they were demanding that it's done better and more money be put into services and things like that, knowing fine well that money is finite in the Scottish Parliament. Now, on the Greens' point, David, if we want to get people out of cars, we need to improve public transport. And public transport means subsidies.
If you try to do that without any improvement on those particular services, right, all that happen is people will go, oh, it's impossible, can't. And then what you're landing with is that even after, is it 2030, where they're going to remove all diesel cars from us?
No, that could kick into longer.
Internal combustion engines, they're going to remove any internal combustion engines. Then that means that people are going to go, don't be daft. You know, simple as that. People will go so far with you, and then if something becomes impossible, they'll just go forget it.
Well, David, if saying I could get out of this village without needing a car.
Yeah.
I'd be quite happy getting public transport.
Yeah.
I'd save a fortune a month.
There are people that live in Scotland right now that unless they've got a car or unless they've got proper transport that doesn't rely on being plugged into the wall, right, then they're in trouble. They're in real trouble because there's a lot of the time when they're up to there in the snow, they'll get a vehicle through, but it's got to be diesel. Simple as that.
Well, even if, I mean, this idea of getting them out of petrol or diesel cars and into electric cars, it's just one car to another, it's still a car. The idea is to reduce it. And the only way to reduce it is to improve public transport. And when you've got a finite budget, you've only got so much you can throw at it. Remember, we're already giving asylum seekers free travel. We're giving 12 to 23-year-olds free bus travel. We're giving the 60-year-olds, the 66-year-olds free travel. The budget can only go so far.
But the thing is, what you're suggesting would need the buses now to have 100 million more routes than it has now, because there are places where the buses don't get to at all.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is a big problem. Yeah. So, yeah, it isn't just a case
I'll give
of.
you an example of that, David. Our local market town, which we never ever go to,
Yeah.
is actually Shorts. Why don't we go there? No transport link.
That's right. Well, we've got a situation whereby people want a job across in Paisley. They live in Western Marshall, they live in Clydebank or whatever, right? Absolutely no chance, because you can't get public transport across that way. There's a new bridge opening down the road, which is the new one that goes from where the old Grangemouth ferry went, right? Brilliant, right? Fantastic. But that's still so many miles down the road, and I don't know yet of any bus routes that are.
Once it opens, the buses will take to that because it will save them getting all the way around the Clyde Tunnel. Of course they will.
They're not going to.
The buses aren't going to use it for public transport.
My advisor here says no.
Because all the bus companies rejected it.
Oh well.
Because it's a working bridge that will raise up like the votes pass, so they can't rely on their timetables.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. You should have known that. Wouldn't you need a third presenter?
She,
Sorry, dear boy, you're off your game here.
We're married, but you shan't divorce me.
Right, so the Greens have a pop at the SNP of car usage as well. They say we just spoke about why car usage is no drama, and it doesn't matter what type of car it is. It's one car to another car.
Yeah.
This isn't just about lowering emissions. It's about getting congestion off the road.
Yeah.
You know. Right, next up, the assistant dying bill is going to hit the Parliament again this month. Now, the committee who scrutinised stage 1 after it passed has recommended that it be a free vote, a vote of conscience. Now, if it passes, it will move on to stage 2, where it will go back to committee again. Now, as we know, Westminster in November, they passed stage 1 of their bill for England and Wales. Right after it passed, it was shelved. They're not making parliamentary time for it again until 2029.
Yeah.
Now, if we do pass this and it goes to stage 2 and 2 committee, and then stage 3 and passes before 2029, it will be vetoed. Why will it be vetoed, David?
Churches, charities.
No, that's why it won't. That's why it won't pass. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's say it goes through the stages and does pass the Scottish Parliament and goes for royal assent. Why will it be vetoed?
Why won't it be vetoed?
Why will it be vetoed?
Why will it be vetoed? I don't know. Because Prince Charles is suffering cancer at the moment. He doesn't want to have an option, please.
That's nonsense. And no, that's got nothing to do with it. Because they vetoed the deposit return scheme because England wasn't ready. That's why it'll be vetoed.
Section 30.
Why it won't pass?
Yeah.
You're right, David. It won't pass because the Catholic Church, the Muslim Church, and the Church of Scotland at this point in time are all against it.
Yeah.
They're the major religions here.
And the MSPs, if nothing else, they do keep one eye on these groups of people, right? But it's rather strange at the moment where the SNP seems to be ignoring us, but we'll get that more on that later on.
We certainly shall. So the City Dying Bill. Now, folks, whether you're for it or whether you're against it, it doesn't really matter. What we're talking about here is if England's not ready, and what will be the excuse for vetoing it, David?
The fact that England isn't ready yet.
It will be done under the internal market bill to say it will skew with the market in the UK, because Scotland will have a market that England doesn't have.
I watched an old guy on TV abroad, and he was actually going through it, and he had a drink, and he sort of nodding off and all the rest of it, right? And that's done, right? I don't know what I felt about it. If it was an old guy going to sleep, at some point you'd be just right, oh, come on, Joey, yeah, I was still nodding off there, right? This guy was dying. It was chilling. It was very, very chilling to actually watch it, if you thought about what was going on. But the fact of the matter is the gentleman was going through severe pain, and it was enough pain for him to say, I've had enough, guys. That's it. So it's conscience. It's down to personal, individual conscience.
Right, David. Now we'll get to Grangemouth Oil Refinery.
Oh,
I found it absolutely fascinating that 2 days after Grangemouth stopped refining oil, a day after they started laying off, and the stories disappeared in Scotland.
yes, I know. Have a listen? Nope.
Tumbleweed.
So,
Tumbleweed.
and if you look at it, if you look back in history to the big steelworks that we saw just near Motherwell, and it went bang and fell down, right? The same 2 days later, it was gone. It was non-existent. It was as if it had never happened.
Well, that's exactly what's happened here. Now, what's interesting is, as the story's killed off, debate in Parliament, Labour MP Brian Leishman for Grangemouth and Alloa had a right go at Ed Miliband, and I mean a right go. He talked about broken promises. He talked about deliberate industrial sabotage as if it was Thatcher's day.
Right.
You know, and he got wellied right in. Now, what was interesting was Miliband at that point tells Mr. Leishman that the UK government is investing £200 million in the area to economically regenerate it. Now, it's a lie, David. Do you know that?
Yeah, in fact, 200 million in a setup of that size and all the rest of it is cherry feed.
No, that's true, David.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, they think that nobody's got the capability of reading it. Well, we know that our press has, but they haven't reported on the Muller report very well. But in the Muller report, it makes it clear the government's not investing nothing. The investment will need to come from the private sector.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is, 200 million quid is what they're going to give for the regeneration of the area. 60 million quid was what it was going to cost to upgrade that facility and keep it running.
Yes.
And now, the interesting thing is that the UK government is now investing in the 6 refineries in England and Wales to upscale, to modernise and hire more staff.
And they've given 600 million to Mr. Ratcliffe, who was the owner of Ineos, Petrol Ineos in Grangemouth, to go to Belgium and build his refinery in Belgium. There's already 4 refineries in Belgium, right? And that is not stuff from me. That is stuff from Believe in Scotland. So if you disagree with that, go speak to Gordon that runs Believe in Scotland, because he actually put
Well, you're absolutely right. He's ready for 600 million quid towards the new refinery he's building in Antwerp. Now, when we talk about job losses, 400 directly,
Yeah.
1,500 indirectly in supply chain,
Yeah.
500 who operate the 40s line
Yeah.
to bring in the oil into Grangemouth.
Yeah.
It's no real.
Yeah.
But the fact that that could be disappeared in our media
Yeah.
in less than 48 hours is
Uh,
fascinating stuff, is it not?
This is the ghost of Ravens, Craig. I assure you, this is the ghost of Ravens,
I
Craig.
mean, you and I are old enough to
We
remember
have got an establishment in Westminster who we are colony, without doubt, right? And we are being told, get back in your fucking box. It's like you're losing that, and the reason you're losing that is because, see, next time you ask for independence, and they'll say the words, they'll say, next time you ask for independence, they'll go, where are you going to get your oil and gas from then? Bastards. Seriously.
Oh, I know that, David. We know
And,
your things.
and if any of us have got the gumption to say, well, where are you going to get electricity from? It's still come to Scotland. Well, that's hard. That's a more difficult sell because that electricity is produced by loads of different people, loads of different companies, right? You look at where the wind farms are owned by and all the rest of it, right? So it's not a single switch. Westminster have operated a single switch and switched off Grangemouth. You guys are stuck. Absolutely fucked beyond belief. Dead simple because of losing that refinery at Grangemouth. We need that refinery at Grangemouth without doubt. It can still be open. It could still be open. Yeah, you take it so far. Obviously, you take it to length of time with the people that are working in it will go on. Well, it's so done with now, right? But seriously, you've still got time. If you get enough of a campaign together, we can do it, and we can actually bring the refinery back to life again. And to put two fingers up to Westminster and go, fuck off. We've got our own refinery.
It's interesting you're saying that, David, because that's interesting to know how meek this SNP and Holyrood is.
Yep.
They put a motion before the Parliament to have Grangemouth refinery saved. It's only a protest vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Labour abstained. Ash
Yep.
Regan abstained of the Alpha Party.
Yeah.
It only passed because of the Greens and the SNP, which is surprising with the Greens.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's just a protest vote.
Yeah.
That's the fucking problem. Where is the guy that's going to stand up and say, you went too far this time, get to fuck?
Yeah. This is what we're doing, and it's happening, right? And has the power to actually make it happen. If all it's required is 60 million, right? It's like, effectively, that's like everybody in Scotland shoving in, what, 10 each? Some people can afford to put in a few thousand each. So don't worry about that, right? At the end of the day, it's like Grangemouth is ours.
60 million to upgrade, David. That's not what Radcliffe will sell it for.
Yeah, I know, I appreciate that. But Radcliffe would have to come in and take repossession of it. I'll tell you what, it's like you could get a campaign going where he wouldn't be allowed through the fucking doors or any representative of his. Some of that.
Well, anyway, I don't know if you've seen it in the papers this morning. John Swinney in I think it was the Herald, saying he's penned an article saying he wants to go further and helping Scottish children out of poverty, education, all that shit. Now, the interesting thing about that is we've just spoke about the Greens and budgets for transport. Well, what John's got to realise is we own a finite budget. It is finite, and we also know that it will be diminished between now and 2029 by a further 5%, 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Taking the total that our budget has been cut from 2016 till 2029 to 16%.
Yeah.
That's a huge swathe.
Yeah.
You know. But
Can I just add to that? Don't forget, Scotland, in amongst all this, is still producing the money that goes to Westminster, goes to the Treasury, right? The taxes, corporate tax, you name it, right? All still go to the Treasury. It's just that Scotland gets less and less and less.
There's nothing.
We're being nickel and dimed.
David, that's another point where we should have made on the refinery thing. Scotland only makes money out of oil that's refined here now.
Oh no, I'm not talking about oil.
We don't get any oil refined here.
I'm not talking about oil. I'm talking about everything. All the money that comes from Scotland. Right, hydrocarbon tax, VAT, you name all these different things, right? Corporation tax from companies in Scotland, right?
Yeah, let's get back to Swinney, David. And I'll answer this one from Nathan. David McGuinness, can the Scottish Government not just take out a compulsory purchase order on Grangemouth? Aye, but how are they going to fight for that?
Yes,
How are
it
they
can.
going to fight for that?
Yeah.
That's the question when we talk about finite budgets. But let's get back to John.
Stop a second, right? Have you ever heard, I know you have, but guys, I'm talking to you here, all the people that's on here, right? Have you ever heard of leverage? Leverage is where you've got like 10 quid in your back pocket, right? But you know something's going to cost 100 quid. And you go to say a supplier of money, bank, whatever, hedge fund, right? And you say, I've only got 10 quid. I'll put 10 quid into that if you supply the extra 90 quid, and we will organise a finance deal. Banks like that. That's called leveraging, right? The Scottish Government could do that dead easy, seriously. And it's something maybe I want you to think about, but it's something that it's not going to happen right now, especially with Mr. Swinney in charge. Right, anyway, simple piece.
Sell bonds, Davy.
Aye.
Eddie, we could, and whom's I was going to issue Scottish bonds.
Yeah.
But guess what? John's no, because that's what we're going to get back on. Looking at John's track record since he came in.
Yeah.
Right? He said there'll be a constitutional convention as he scrapped the Minister for Independence and the Department for Independence. Right? What did the constitutional convention turn out to be? A summit on defeating the right.
Including parties that are right wing.
Right? Independence seems to be off the cards.
Yes.
I was listening to John Drummond's show last night, TNT. He was talking to Kevin Gibney. And he was saying that, like us, he's getting no joy trying to get an SNP elected official in for a chat.
Leslie, you're coming across loud and clear. Do you mind? Sorry. David,
It was clear that under John's orders, they're not to talk to the independence movement, the independence vloggers and bloggers.
That seems a bit self-defeating, does it not? When you have a political party such as the SNP who won't speak to the electorate that votes it in.
Aye.
That's very strange.
Now, it is frustrating. And they say, John's human unit, they say, I've been trying to give Swinney the benefit of the doubt. But when I seen that nonsense in the paper this morning, because I understand the economics of the Scottish budget, then there's two questions that have to be asked about the nonsense in the papers this morning if he wants to give more to children, without affecting the universal credit of their parents, of course, because there's other benefits involved here. Then, where's he taking it for? Which public services are going to have to go for him to do that?
That's right. Because it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Always been a case of that. Always been a case of that.
Aye, that's true, Julie Brown. Angus Robertson did say he didn't want to speak to the independence movement. And it would appear the rest of it. So what we need to do, folks, as I pointed out this morning, is these questions have to be asked in branch.
Yeah.
So the majority of us,
David, let's mark this. Let's bracket this, right? If you are a member of the SNP, then it is your fiduciary responsibility to take the ideas that we give you to the branch meeting and then start asking questions. Now, David, now you carry on, because in actual fact, it's important that you do.
it is important, David. It's also now, because the majority of our social media platforms, David, are SNP members. It is important that when they go to branch, and if they're no regular attending the branch, then you can always ask questions of your branch. I work in the evening, I can't get to branch meetings, but I can contact the secretary. I can ask them to ask a question on my behalf. But I think I'm going to have to start asking my boss to give me specific nights after again myself. Because nobody's taking calls. Nobody's answering emails.
Yeah.
They've gone to bloody ground. Now, support for independence has never been higher according to polling.
Yeah.
And yet here we have a First Minister that seems to have banned all talk of independence. And that seems to be a problem, folks. And it's on us, the members, to demand answers. Because his primary duty, isn't it, to the all peoples of Scotland, his primary duty is to get us to fuck out this union for the sake of the people of Scotland.
Yeah.
He can represent everybody while he's doing it, but he needs to be pushing it. And he is not. He, since he came into office, has taken it off the table. Now, I've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I've spent a wee while getting back here absolutely everything. And the only time he mentions independence is when he's asked about independence. And he says, oh, it's still a priority. And then ushers straight on.
Yeah, I find me, I'm easier to look at things and go, yeah, he's not for us. He's not on our side, right? But David, it takes an awful lot of stuff, and he's got to find it himself. And that's absolutely wonderful that he's coming out now and he's going, yeah, John Swinney is one guy we need to get rid of. And so I won't say any more. I'm going to let David carry on. You make good points.
See, David, John is a good administrator, but we don't need a good administrator. Tesco and fucking Perth needs a good administrator. What we need is a leader. And I don't see one anywhere in our ranks. I know you disagree, but I don't. Maybe David Dugan. Maybe.
I'm a great believer in the phrase, it's an old phrase, so be careful, right? I'll add bits into it. Come with the moment, or come with the time, come with the man, or the woman, right? And I believe that at some point we will see somebody present themselves that will be in the right place to do the job. And again, can actually take on John Swinney and basically say to him, right, you've had enough chance, John. You can come and debate with me, but we're going to talk about what the SNP are actually for, what the raison d'etre is. If you can't do that, then obviously it's time for you to go.
Well, so Larry, the young lady behind you there, and I don't mean Leslie, I mean Juno.
Yeah.
She could well have been a mate option for you, mate, if you weren't getting on a bit. Yeah, because I've seen those galleys get eyes on her.
I've got my white cat called Willow, and it's like when she comes and lies on my seat and stroke her, and I'll go, "We want you to die, Mr. Bond." I said,
"Hey, thanks for diverting me a wee bit there, that's a lie, because I was starting to get my blood pressure up. As I say, I've been trying to give John the benefit of the doubt, but I've spent a wee bit of time having a look at his actions, and he's comfy being in control. He's comfy with the polls are telling him he's going to get another crack at staying the First Minister next time round. But we don't need somebody who wants political power. We need somebody who wants to get us out of this place in the interest of the people of Scotland. If we look at some of the polling.
To be honest with you, and the posts I put up that have been anti-John Swinney, the amount of people that are agreeing with me, you go, fine, okay, fair enough, you get that. But also you get people going, oh, John came in, rescued the party when we were knocked back at the last general election and all the rest of it, right? And
John's the reason why we fucking lost the last election.
David, I was just about to say that, but it's trying to convince people without swearing at them, without making them seem as if they're stupid. They're not stupid. It's just they've got another idea. Money is not the person to lead us anywhere near independence.
I'm beginning to realise.
The nice thing you could say about him is he's a gradualist. That's not what he is. He's not a gradualist. He's a neverist. Simple as that.
Well, as I say, I've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. He is a good administrator. He is popular in the party.
Yeah.
But it's time that the party started to stand up and say, have you forgotten what the objective of this party is?
Yeah.
Because that seems to be the case.
It matters to the people. It doesn't matter to the politicians, right? And when every politician, whether it be Labour, Tory, SNP, you name it, when they first come in and after they get elected, they've got great ideas of what they're going to do with their power, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, right? I think after a while, all politicians, no matter where, get the idea that all I want to do is see out my 20 years.
Anyway, before we move on, David, do you want to know what swayed me?
Go on then.
He hasn't been there for more than a year, and he's on his third programme for fucking government.
Yes.
And he had no right to change a programme for government that he was elected in on.
Yes, I know. Exactly.
3 programmes for government in a year.
Yeah. That is an administration.
Man doesn't know what he's doing.
That's an administration that is failing and is more run from opinion polls than anything.
What it tells me is that he isn't as good as an administrator as everybody thinks he is. And as for rescuing the party after the disastrous election, he was the one that took independence off the cards in the election. It was page 1, line 1 in the manifesto, but it wasn't pushed.
What do you think the people of Scotland would think if there was an announcement that said, that's it guys, we are never going to have any attempt at independence again. We're part of England, right? And Scotland is now to be considered as a region of England, right? What do you think would happen?
What would happen? That'd be the end of the SNP. Somebody else would rise, but it'd knock us back 30 years.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, somebody else would rise in.
But it would knock us back 30 years.
Back to the saying I was saying, come with the moment, come with the man or the moment.
Well, guess what? The man's not there at the moment.
He's not there at the moment. I agree. But, well, we'll see.
And I look across this party and I don't see the man.
Well, I was hoping that Stephen was going to do it, Stephen Flynn, but I'm not so sure now, but he's a bit jokey. He needs to be serious and hard. And I haven't really seen much of that from Stephen Flynn at the moment.
No, David, how they taking us up to now? And we're not leaving the party. We'll change it from within. With the help of you guys.
Who are you talking to?
The people who follow us on social media.
David, who are you talking to?
It's just a comment. Hey,
what was the comment?
David, you don't have time to read it.
Who's it from? David Gregg. Right. Okay. David, I would say there's a good, strong possibility you're an Alba supporter, possibly, right?
No, that doesn't matter what he is.
It, it does matter what he is because the Alba supporters saw stuff like this early on, right? We're not talking about the leadership of the Alba. We're talking about the people that are in there as Alba
Remember,
supporters. Yeah, membership, right? So yeah, fair enough. And you can imagine as SNP members, I was SNP member literally. I was there. I was there for the duration. So was that, right? But if John keeps on doing this, it'll be a case of let's look at this.
don't want to
Yeah.
talk about some pop, Casper. I don't want to talk about some pop man. Anybody that threatens a politician, he shouldn't be given a platform.
Yeah, the kneecap thing last night was discussed to death on the Scottish debate night thing programme.
No, it's trivia crap.
Yeah,
You know, if you're going to threaten politicians, especially in another country,
yeah.
and encourage people to hurt politicians, then you're not getting a platform, no even here.
When you talk about something like that, you've got to take in the round.
David, we're not talking about it. We're not talking about it.
There have been MPs that have been killed in this country. Doesn't matter who they work for, they've been killed, and it's like for somebody to suggest doing that to an MP, forget it. You know.
Right, we're going to skip number 5 and go straight to number 6. Scottish Labour pick London councillor to run for MSP for the Highlands.
No, yeah.
Give us the details, shall we? Shall you do? Will you do it?
You wait until I turn the handle on this blooming this thingy of mine. See, this is you changing things. There we are. There it goes.
No, actually, the time we spent talking about John there is what did it, David.
It was worth talking about John. So
That was aye.
Be careful on that one, right? Scottish Labour picked London councillor to contest Highlands seat again, right? Scottish Labour have been blasted for selecting a London councillor to stand in the Scottish Parliament elections next year. It is the second time in less than a year Anna Sauer's party have been selected Eva Kestner, that's Kestener, to contest a seat in the Scottish Highlands. The Lewisham councillor stood, if you want to get your map out, Lewisham councillor stood in Caithness, Sunderland and Easter Ross's constituency in last year's general election, and has now been selected again to stand for Holyrood in the Caithness, Sutherland and Ross seat, currently held by SNP's Marie Todd. The seat is around 650 miles away from the area which Kestner represents as a councillor in South East London. Do you think this person going to have any empathy with people in Scotland? I don't think so. Do you think this councillor is going to have any way whereby she can go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, right? Our milk rounds are like that, right? They're not. They're so out of it, right? Okay. Next is the selection of Kestner by Sauer's party is not gone unnoticed, with the Scottish Labour coming in for heavy criticism on social media. Andrea Cowan, an SNP councillor in Rutherglen, questioned how the selection was acceptable after Scottish Labour accused the SNP of parachuting in Katie Loudon to contest the Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse by-election. Loudon does not live in the constituency, but it does just stay over the border in Rutherglen. Over the border, we're talking about a few streets away, right? Okay. She is hoping to keep the seat in SNP hands following the tragic death of Christina McKelvey last month. God rest your soul, honey. Cowan said on Twitter, or X or whatever it's called this week, so let's get this straight. A councillor from Lewisham, 650 miles from Caithness, is fine to stand for Labour in next year's Holyrood elections, but an experienced councillor from South Lanarkshire standing in Hamilton is being parachuted in. That was sarcastic. That was sarcasm. Cole McHale shared the news of Kestner's selection and pointed out the huge distance between the two places. He posted, Scottish Labour has once again selected a sitting Lewisham councillor to stand in Caithness. The seat is approximately 650 miles away from Eva's current ward. Hell of a commute. In the comments of Scottish Labour's post, many people question why she, Kestner, has been chosen to run in a seat in a completely different county. A councillor from Lewisham? Question mark. Are you really that short on candidates that you're poaching councillors from so far away? Said Helen Kelly. I could go on, I could go on, I could go on.
I know, but you could read out a whole list of them that are parachuted in for the general election, I know. But the point is, as been said in the comments, there is no Scottish Labour, and these people are being selected by the London head office, or sorry, well, the head office in Newcastle, but by the London bubble.
Yeah.
You know, they are being parachuted in to bypass Sarwar and take the information straight to you.
So the underlying message that anybody that's got any thought for Labour whatsoever, when they listen to, Scottish Labour will sort it out, right? There's no such thing as Scottish Labour. There is a Labour Party that is based in London, and they make all the decisions, everyone that runs, all the rest of it, right? And Scottish Labour are just a wee, I don't know, get together and
Stephen. And what's very important, if they were an entity, the members here would be going after nut, because it would mean that they had no avenue into public life.
That's right.
What's basically happening is Scottish Labour is being replaced by the head office.
Yeah.
The branch office is having a hostile takeover, and Sarwar is too fucking stupid to realise it.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
That is what's happening.
So officially, our judgment, if you like, of Sarwar is he's a stupid bastard.
Oh, definitely. He didn't even see the fact that I mean, look at who leads the so-called branch office. It isn't Sarwar, it's Michael Shanks.
He wants to take us personally for the word bastard. No, I'll just call him stupid idiot. He's a stupid idiot.
I mean, what he doesn't realise is he's already been usurped by Starmer's choice, Michael Shanks, who actually runs a branch office.
Yeah.
Sarwar's nothing more than a front man in Holyrood now.
Well, Sarwar could be looking at in his later years of settling down in the House of Lords and get his ermine underpants on and all that stuff. At the end of the day, that's what people like him do. It's just...
Dave, I'll tell you why we don't want to go into Scottish prison, because I'm not interested in talking to a guy in Spain about what's going on in Scotland.
Right. That's right.
But as I say, Sarwar's that stupid, he doesn't really know that he's been usurped.
Yeah.
He's already been usurped by Michael Shanks, and
Or
now the London office is replacing.
Or maybe he does know, and what he's doing is he's putting a brave face on it.
I don't think he realises.
Thinking that if he continues that, he's going to end up in the House of Lords.
I mean, if he didn't notice when he was promising to get rid of the two-child cap, when he was promising to save Grangemouth, when he was promising to compensate the Waspy woman, and every time he opened his mouth he gets slapped down. If he didn't notice then, David, he's just stupid.
But if he's not stupid, then he could be doing it just looking at the future. Because don't forget, we are president. There is another leader of Labour that ended up as a lord, and his lordship, right? So forget his name. Forget that guy's name. What's it called?
What's interesting, David, is we'll see how many Merriam actually make it through the vetting process. Will Sarwar be allowed to stand, or will Starmer parachute somebody into his seat? That's how stupid Sarwar is.
Stephen says, there's a turncoat needs in packing. He's a puppet. Yeah.
Well, as I say, if you are a member of the Labour Party here in Scotland and you were looking for a route into public life, London Labour's shutting it down.
Yeah.
And Sarwar's too stupid to realise it.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about, we're not going to talk about the local elections in England today, or the Runcorn a election, a by-election in England today. But we're going to talk about the Hamilton Stone, Larkhill and Stonehouse a by-election, and Stephen Flynn has challenged Sir Keir Starmer to come up the road and campaign in that by-election. Now, David, this goes right back to what you were saying about no being a serious man when he was poking fun at Starmer like that, jokingly, tongue in cheek, saying,
jokingly, yes, that's right. At the end of the day, it's like Stephen Flynn's argument was, well, on the letter that he sent to Starmer, his argument was, well, we with John Swinney, he's coming, he's campaigning on this. He said, so we expect your leader to come up and campaign on this. Stephen shouldn't have got into that. That to me, when you start doing that, you've lost direction, as far as I'm concerned.
No.
I'm not going to wash my hands of Stephen Flynn. However, he does require to maybe look at the direction he's taken.
Right, we're going to move down the road a wee minute.
Yeah.
As you know, David, Rachel Reeves was over in Washington last week looking for a trade deal.
Yes.
And she got one almighty slap in the face, and it's only just coming to light now. And that is, she was told by the Trump administration, too weak, too poor, too stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You're a secondary issue. Fuck off.
If the UK was still part of the EU, you can guarantee that if Britain didn't have a deal, somehow the Americans would be trying to bypass the EU to get a deal in with the UK. But it's like, we can't. There's no way the US would. They might as well do a great big deal together with Tonga or whatever. You know what I mean?
McDonald Island is the Penguins Republic.
Yeah.
The Penguins Democratic Republic of McDonald Island. Yeah, you go. It's as stupid as that.
Yeah.
You know, but what a slap in the face. What a real slap in the face, and what a blow to the UK economy. You know, she travels to Washington because the you know, why, maybe we'll do a trade deal with you, maybe get out of it, tell, we're dealing with Ukraine right now, fuck off.
Yeah.
What's interesting about Westminster is Trump was talking about tariffs and everybody around the world phoned them up. Everybody's rubbered them. Everybody's stood against them. Everybody's done a Canada. Elbows up.
Yeah.
Except for the UK.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Oh, and another thing that's going to get doing well with this Labour government, red Tory government, is Rachel Reeves tells the independent peer review body for the public sector, we've no money to accept your review this year. Sorry, fuck off. We'll have to deal with these people one sector at a time, and we're not taking the independent peer review body's recommendations.
As far as I'm concerned, there are two types of people. The politicians tend to sit on one side, right, and everybody else that's into the economy is on the other side, right? The idea that there is no money tree. Yes, of course there's a money tree. The money tree is effectively the Bank of England that we have, which is our central bank at the moment, right? And money, or amounts of money, can literally be put into a computer, just literally, we need 50 billion, right? Fine, there's 50 billion, right? And that's it, it's done. Whereas people like Rachel Reeves and all the rest think, we've only got so many receipts on the tax this week, but we can only afford this now, and it's all going up. And it's a wrong way to look at it. It's a wrong way to encounter it, and it shows that Rachel Reeves is dead wrong for the job. Doesn't matter what she's done. Forget that at the moment. She's just wrong for the job.
Aye. Now, we've only got a few minutes left, but I'm going to bring this one in because it shows us how batshit crazy things are got down that road, David. And that is undocumented immigrants who are sex offenders will not be granted asylum. And this is Labour's attempt to out Farage, which is a fucking daft idea. But how do you know which of these undocumented immigrants are sex offenders if you can't verify who the fuck they are?
Are you sure it wasn't Farage that said that?
No. So what we're looking at is the madness down that road going for talking about a one in, one out immigration system and denying people they can't properly identify asylum. Is it just me?
Are you sure? Are you sure this wasn't a conversation around a drink where everybody's on their sixth pint?
No, this was proposed to be passed as a bill. In fact, it's going forward as a bill. So what they're going to do is, these people are coming across undocumented. They can tell the authorities that whoever the fuck they want because they're undocumented, and yet the authorities are going to somehow know that they were a sex offender in the past.
Don't get me wrong. If somebody is a sex offender, then yeah, I'd say, for goodness sake, what we're going to do is put them in prison and deal with it that way, right?
But wait a minute. Even if they are identified a couple of years later as not the person they claim to be and that they were a sex offender, but at time they'll have been here long enough to establish a life.
Yeah.
And then that means the Supreme Court judges are going to have to judge it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. And
of course, there's always the appeal to the ECHR. Now, when we look at the trans issue, this silly bill, it looks as if the European Court of Human Rights and the Bill of Human Rights is going to be fucked out the window in favour of a British Bill of Rights, as they call it. But it would appear that things are being manipulated so that the people in England would actually accept having the protections of the European Convention on Human Rights ripped away from under them.
Yeah, well, you look at the way that people are being manipulated. And my argument this morning, when we talked about it, was the Britain, what do they call it again?
Rebuild Britain.
Rebuild Britain rebuilt, right?
It's
not British. That's what press that, right? And these people have effectively used a poll which is questionable, is extremely questionable, right? There's different ways you can look at it. Dave and I both came at it from different directions, and both of us said that it's absolute fucking nonsense. That is where a body called Britain Rebuilt or whatever they want, right? Due to money being put into small modular reactors that are going to be placed in Scotland, are trying hard to change people's minds, trying to make the normal Scot go, oh, well, it was a good idea after all. No, it isn't. It's fucking dangerous. And just to add a bit more credence to that, is that several of the council areas down in England have already had, if you like, planning put across their bows, and they just went, no, fuck off, don't be daft.
Aye. I think there was 17 councils actually that dealt with fuck off. And that's why we're seeing these silly polls saying the people of Scotland are up for this.
Yeah. But, well, no, people of Scotland stand out being against it. They want to come over to our side. No, our side is the minority. The minority is trying to make itself look like the majority by running polls.
We've seen that in the newspapers here where they say 43% don't favour this. Instead you saying, aye, but 57% they you numpties.
If we just change the name slightly, you end up with Britain First. A certain Pamela, oh yes, Pamela, right? Where they are bringing up all sorts of nonsense to make people look as if Britain First are great. And
Scotland in the union with Pamela and Ash, but that's a different matter. What we've all ended in saying is, the opinion polls are not there to gauge public opinion anymore. They're there to set it. A bit like the newspapers. It's getting ridiculous, David.
Yeah. Yes.
And on that, folks, we're going to have to wind it up. So I want to thank the moderators for moderating. I want to thank anybody who's contributed today with the super chat, and that includes this morning and this afternoon. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 10.
there's lots of things that we could have discussed this today, but there's too many and too much in depth that we had to go into and the things that we looked at,
Aye.
So sorry about that, guys, but we'll see you again. We'll see you again Monday. So
Aye. I'll see you tomorrow morning, folks. Now remember, when we're thought about, as I say, I've been giving John the benefit of the doubt because he's a good administrator, but his actions speak louder than his words, and it's time for us, the members, because it's us that's got the influence in the party, to start speaking to our branches and ask what the fuck's going on here. Okay. Now, there's an independence march on Saturday in Glasgow. Be there. Come and meet me, Albert, in the 2 Cafe, getting a cup of coffee.
Right, okay. I'll say bye-bye, guys. Bye, Davey.
Bye, David. And goodbye, folks. Thanks very much for tuning in once again in fast numbers. Bye for now.